And so I was featured in a press release. I created blog posts. I did a whole photo shoot, shared everything on social media, did media interviews for them. I mean, it was really fulfilling because I literally got to work on something where I was changing the health of Americans. Hello and welcome to the Master of the Media podcast, episode 12. I'm your host, Amy Gorin, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. And today we're going to be talking about, I thought it would be fun just to share some of my favorite brand partnerships because you guys are always asking, what does a brand partnership look like? What can a brand partnership look like? So I'm really excited to share several different types of partnerships that I've done that were all just really fun, but also just very different. Before we dive into that, I want to invite you to join our free Facebook group where we post media opportunities daily and also some brand partnership opportunities, and it's totally free. So it's called Master the Media for dietitians, physicians, and health professionals. The link is facebook.com/groups/Media Mastery with Amy, and I'll put the link in the show notes as well. So when it comes to partnering with brands, I think a lot of times what comes to mind for us, for anyone who's thinking about brand partnerships, it's like, okay, I could do an Instagram post or a TikTok post, and what else is there? And you guys, there is a lot of other opportunity out there. You don't even necessarily have to do social media at all to work with brands. And so that's really the beauty of it, because my favorite partnerships have really been all over the map in terms of what the deliverables have been. And that's what makes them really fun. So I'm going to share a few of those examples, and that way you can get ideas of what you can do with brands, what you can propose as ideas when you're discussing potential partnership opportunities with brands, because a lot of getting that brand partnership comes down to, you're doing a lot of that strategic thinking for the brand. You're in a way giving them, I tell my Master of the Media students, when you talk to a brand, you do a discovery call with them, you're basically giving them a free coaching session where you're giving them ideas based off of the pain points that you've seen that they have. And that's what really makes you valuable as a healthcare professional with influence. It's not just your skills or your knowledge, it's the ability to come up with these ideas in a creative way and bring them to the brands. So the first thing that I'm going to share is a partnership that I did with this product, this company called Jura. They make high-end coffee machines. And if you don't know this about me, I'm a huge coffee fan. I guess I could call myself a coffee snob. And in fact, like, I really only drink espresso based products, mostly. I like the taste, but also, I don't know, there's like something with regular coffee that hurts my stomach. And then like during COVID, I taught myself how to basically create all the different recipes that I always got at Starbucks, like a caramel macchiato. And then and I created a whole bunch of other coffee recipes. But let's like go back in time a few years. And when I was living in New Jersey, the Jura headquarters were actually really close to where I was living. And I had met one of their PR reps, so public relations reps, at a trade show that I had attended in New York City. And so we got to talking, and she lived in the same city I lived in. So she invited me out to the headquarters, and I got the whole behind the scenes tour, which was really cool. I got to see, like, they have this whole, it's not even like a museum. It's like a room of all of the past machines they've ever made, because their customer service is that good. Like, if you call and you're like, I have this 20-year-old machine, like, they'll go into their little room and kind of like walk through it with you to help you fix your issue. Anyway, so I got really excited because I was like, this coffee machine, it not only grounds your beans to make espresso, but it also makes, lattes and cappuccinos. And so we ended up that year, and I don't often trade services for products, but in this case, they were like, we don't have budget for a traditional partnership, but we love to do trades. And their coffee machines, like the one I ended up with, it's a $5,000 coffee machine, so it's very high end. So what I ended up doing was I created a recipe for them. I took the pictures and shared on social media and did a nutrition analysis, and that was the project. And in exchange, I got to keep the $5,000 coffee machine. So I was like, okay, I'm happy with this. But we kept in touch that whole year. And this often happens with brands, not that they're going to pay you in product one year and then pay you in money the next year, but you might start talking with them, giving them ideas, and then they might actually create the budget to work with you. So what happened was we started talking about recipe creation. I shared that I make coffee recipes like all the time. If you come to my house, I actually have like a little coffee section in my kitchen. I have a coffee board of like what you can order and I'll make it for you. And so I have like everything from a spiked licorice latte to a rose tea latte. And I find it really, really fun. And so they ended up saying, okay, we've created some budget for you to create an ebook. And I think I created 15 recipes for them where I created the recipes. I didn't even do the food photography because they wanted to use their own internal photographer, but I did the nutrition analysis for them. And then their intent was to use this recipe ebook as a way to get people to give them their emails on their website to build their email lists. That's called an opt-in. So that was a really, really cool partnership because I got to do something that I enjoy and love doing. And then I got to also for that recipe project, they had me, they have another company underneath them called Caprezo. And so they had me use a lot of those products like this milk steamer and an iced tea maker. And so I got to keep a lot of those products as well. So that's a partnership where it was really kind of that was uniquely created based off of the skill set that I shared with the brand. And then the social media part was minuscule. It was me sharing on social media. That wasn't the main part of the project. It didn't really honestly matter how many followers I had. So I'm just sharing that with you because I think a lot of times we get in our heads about, I can't work with brands unless I have at least 10,000 followers. And when I started working with brands, I probably had a few hundred. And your following ironically grows. The more you work with brands, the more you work with media, they will either do a collaboration post these days or they'll link to your post. And so that will bring you more followers. Anyway, one of my other favorite partnerships was really, truly out of the box. I worked with Panda Express, and this was a really cool project because I got to the project was a 2-year project. I helped them make their core menu items healthier, and then I helped them communicate that to all of America. And how this came about was, okay, the lesson here is never waste an opportunity that you have to get in front of a brand. And so I was up for a spokesperson role. I had been connected to the brand through their PR, their public relations agency that I'd worked with previously. And so they had narrowed it down to me and one other dietitian to be their spokesperson. And so, of course, I talked with them. I don't remember if it was Zoom or the phone. And I just was like, you know what? I have their attention. I'm going to share all of my ideas. And so I shared the idea of, it wouldn't be that difficult to make some of your menu items healthier and therefore more attractive to, this health conscious, population in America. And so what ended up happening was they hired the other dietitian person who was the other candidate for the spokesperson role, which is totally fine. That happens. But they came to me and they said, we love your idea so much that we're actually going to create a consulting role and a consulting budget for you to do this project. So I always go overboard when I'm working with brands. I wrote like a 70-something page paper of all the things that we could do to make their menu healthier. Reduce added sugar, reduce added sodium, lower these additives, swap them out, and I included a ton of research. And then what happened was the next year they hired me as their spokesperson, and we communicated to all of America that we were committed to making these healthy menu changes. And so I was featured in a press release. I created blog posts. I did a whole photo shoot, shared everything on social media, did media interviews for them. And so that was just a really cool, it was really fulfilling because I literally got to work on something where I was changing the health of Americans. And then I got to work behind the scenes, which is I find really just enjoyable. And then I got to work in front of the scenes, which I also love, to share all of this incredible news with the country. And so my kind of one of the points I want to make in sharing the story is one of the many things you can do with brands is behind the scenes consulting work. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to be in front of the scenes, or you find it overwhelming, or you might want to table that one for later, there's a lot of consulting that you can do for a brand, and it can look like many different things. So, I created this research paper for the brand. Other kind of more common things that you can do in a consulting role is creating something called a healthcare practitioner toolkit. So one of the things that I love to have my Master of the Media students do before they talk to a brand is kind of do a little, and it just takes a few minutes, do some digging, go on the brand's website, see if they have a healthcare practitioner section or a toolkit on their website. And what this means is usually there's more scientific information for healthcare professionals, that dives a little deeper than the consumer information would. And so oftentimes it'll be, here's a whole bunch of, studies about the product, or about, let's say we're talking about mangoes, about all the recent research about mangoes. And here's some key communication points. And your role could be bringing all of that information into, and it could be anywhere from a 3-page to a 12-page toolkit, that would include not only that scientific information, but also language that is applicable to healthcare professionals because it dives deeper than the consumer information, but it's also presented in a way that's easy to understand, and can be easily used by not only healthcare professionals, but also members of the media for when they're creating articles and writing articles. And so what that toolkit does is it makes, my role as a healthcare practitioner easier. If I want to show to a patient why mangoes are good for you, I can say, well, here's several studies, and I can just grab them from that website. If I'm a reporter, say, writing an article for Eating Well on the health benefits of mangoes, I can pull that research from that toolkit, and it just is a lot easier, and it saves time, and it makes the media more likely to feature mangoes. The other thing that's pretty common is helping brands with their messaging points. So kind of taking, sciencey information and making it presentable to consumers, or to be used on in a brand's website or in brand's marketing material, but not only making it easy to understand, but also making sure that it's accurate. So that's something that as a healthcare professional, there's a lot of nuances. When you talk about studies, you say this, eating 5 to 6 prunes a day may help decrease your risk of osteoporosis, but you can't say eating 5 to 6 prunes a day decreases your risk of osteoporosis, because that's too blatant of a statement, and we can't make that definitive of a statement when we're talking about research. And that's a whole rabbit hole to go down. But basically, this is the kind of stuff that you can help brands with, because usually they don't have a whole team of healthcare practitioners working on their staff. Now, one of my other favorite partnerships that I want to share, it was with this supplement company called Cognizant, and they had me speak as part of a panel that was presenting to members of the media and also nutrition professionals. And so it was this live event where they brought, I believe it was 7 speakers onto a stage. We each spoke for about 7 minutes, and then we did a panel discussion. And so all of the other speakers were speaking about sciencey stuff related to the supplement, and I was speaking about how to present scientific information to the media. So I was there kind of giving the lay of the land from a media dietitian perspective. And this was a really, really fun project because I love speaking. I love public speaking. And I got to be on stage and, speak about what I'm most passionate about, which is media. And then as part of that partnership, there were also some, me sharing on social media, helping to get my audience excited about attending this event, which was in New York City, which is close to where I live. And also, there were some things I kind of just added to the partnership, as I'm going to do this as a bonus because I just really care about, this initiative that we're working on, and I want people to attend. So I ended up sharing a list of my contacts with the brand to help them get those people to attend. So oftentimes you might end up doing some additional work that isn't necessarily part of the original scope of work that you're doing. But I always recommend, over deliver. The end of the day, you want the brand to succeed. And so if you're like, okay, well, we agreed say we're doing this webinar and we have 10 people signed up, even though I'm getting paid no matter what, and I'm speaking at the webinar, I want to do everything I can to help get people actually attending the webinar. So I might even offer to share an e-blast to my list of healthcare practitioners as a bonus, just because I really want to help the brand succeed. So that's something where, when you start working with brands, you'll kind of see, it's not just about delivering what you agreed upon as deliverables. It's also about making sure that the brand succeeds. And sometimes that can look like you're giving them extra consulting hours, or you're giving them an extra deliverable, like, sending out an e-blast to your audience, or sharing an extra Instagram story. And all of that goes a really long way to showing that you care about the brand and about how the wider audience responds to the initiative that you're working on, and not just about getting paid at the end of the day. So I hope that your eyes were widened to all of the different kinds of deliverables that you can do with a brand and get paid for. And again, if you want to kind of dive deeper into getting featured in the media, which is step one to working with brands, and also seeing some of those brand partnership opportunities come to life, we share a lot of those in our free Facebook group, which is called Master the Media for dietitians, physicians, and health professionals. And I'll put that link in the show notes.